Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of our BDPA Tech and Career Talks. I am Devin Jenkins, our National Tech and Career Talk leader. I'm currently a staff technical product manager in supply chain analytics at GE Healthcare. I'm located in North Carolina right now, but glad to have you. This is our first Tech and Career Talk of the year. So we're excited to have another great year this series with some great engaging content for you on a range of topics. If you're unfamiliar with this platform, we have speakers on the second and fourth Friday of each month. Different people in the tech space. Some people speak on more technical topics. We've talked about AI and brain machine interaction in the past. We have people talk about entrepreneurship and personal branding and development. So we have quite the range here from people all over from different levels of their careers. So we're excited to have you. Hope you continue to join us throughout the year. In case you're unfamiliar, BDPA stands for Black Data Processing Associates. The organization was founded in 1975. It is a organization focused on building the talent pipeline within the tech space and the IT industry. We have a focus on professionals, providing opportunities for networking and further career development. And then we also have a focus on youth, continuing to build up their computer programming skills and technology skills so that we keep the pipeline growing and thriving. And our whole mantra is advancing careers from the classroom to the boardroom. So we're excited to have you here today. We're excited to have our guest here today, Mr. Jordan Taylor. Jordan was a participant in our inaugural partnership with NSBE last year, our BDPA NSBE Entrepreneurship from Idea to Lunch pitch competition at the BDPA conference in Atlanta. So we're excited to have Jordan here today to talk about his entrepreneurial journey, a little bit about what his business does through SynergyGrid and building solar power communities. So we're excited. This is going to be a great conversation. I'm going to get out of the way. I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Taylor here to talk to us in his own way. So Jordan, the floor is yours.
Well, thanks so much. Really appreciate you for having me here and to be able to talk to all you wonderful people. So today, I'll kind of just walk you guys through my journey and what led me up to what is here today as being the CEO and founder of SynergyGrid. So I guess I'll briefly get started with what SynergyGrid is, what we do, our product offerings, and then I'll kind of take you through, we'll take it all the way back to childhood till now, because a lot of that stuff is important in combining experiences and really having that unique perspective and experience. So the name of the company is SynergyGrid. In essence, what we do, we are a sustainable real estate development company. And so that entails a large amount of things, but typically the way I break it down is it's two pieces: the real estate component, the real estate that we're building, the communities that we're building, they're high energy efficiency and performance buildings. And we pair that up with renewable energy systems. So most people are familiar with solar and how that works. These actually are very unique systems in regards to solar. They are microgrid systems. And so the benefit of the microgrid is the resiliency component. And that's been relatively, on par with, as of late, we've had a lot of issues with grid stability and infrastructure issues. And what this allows for communities at a community level to do is not be impacted by losses of power, and then has a good power quality. So how did I start SynergyGrid? How did we get here to today? Bringing it all the way back, like I can say that I've always generally been interested in renewable energy. My 7th grade science fair project was a vertical wind turbine. And so I do want to call out some specific people that have really had a big impact in my life. So for anybody that's on the call, really no matter where you are, I know that I've been mentored to other people and people have mentored me to get me here to today. So, never discount that opportunity. And there was actually a professor that I had, his name is Michael Willis. He was actually one of the people that I ended up having to go to the high school for. I was in middle school at the time, but most of the middle school teachers are biology teachers, so they didn't really have a really good grasp on physics. ended up meeting with him and, taught me about stators and permanent magnet wires and electromagnetism. And that was actually one of the first experiences that I got into really having an affinity for math and the sciences. And so my dad was also a general contractor. So I did grow up with, fortunate to be able to see someone in the entrepreneurship space. So I really got firsthand experience. But, one of the things that, we all can't say is that, my dad ran a Fortune 500 company. My dad was not that. He was a solopreneur, and we were a part of his company. And so we often were subbing out the work to us, to myself and my brothers to do a lot of the work with him. So building homes throughout Baltimore City, Baltimore County, that was one of the places that I grew up learning, just trade work. And so, there is all types of benefits from learning skill sets, especially early on. So getting to learn with my, learn technical skills and to be able to build things with my hands was definitely a cheat code. And I love cheat codes, but being able to have that so early on in life, I can see now on how these things have compounded, and we'll get to maybe some elements later on. But, throughout that experience, got a really good variety. I mean, probably flipped at least over 100 homes in the area. And throughout that time, learning all about building construction and not necessarily understanding, I was learning about building science. And so now fast forward to high school. I actually met Mr. Willis again. He actually got me interested in robotics. So throughout that, he was the faculty liaison for the robotics club. So I did that all throughout high school. We actually run some, regional and national competitions. And that's where a lot of my love for technology and for engineering was built. I ended up going to school for robotics engineering at Johnson & Wales. Was the first school that I went to. And from there, because of the niche that I was in, and, a lot of people encouraging me, oh, well, you don't want to be too specialized or too niche. You should broaden out your studies. And I listened to people and not myself. Maybe a benefit, maybe a blessing, maybe a curse, but ended up going to Penn State for mechanical engineering. And I did know that, he was a previous alumni, but, very, very much a mentor. Called up Mr. Willis. Hey, I'm in the area. I went to the Erie campus and, was just looking for places to go. And, my parents were dropping me off, looking for a place to stay, looking for place to eat. And he's actually there. Lo and behold, he actually came, took us out to eat, showed us around, and I had him for my statics, my dynamics, and my nuclear engineering classes over the next few years. So that was one of the people that was very engaged and involved in fostering that part of my education. And so throughout this time, after leaving school, I got into the engineering space for about 5 years and found out that was not necessarily the place that I really wanted to stay on a long term. Just sitting behind a computer doing designs wasn't necessarily what I signed up for, and got a tour of SpaceX while I was doing an internship over in California. And that was actually how I first began into the energy space. So fast forward 10 years, I've been in renewable energy for about just a little over a decade now, and going from residential and commercial solar sales to starting my own company in 2017, and then starting SynergyGrid in 2020. And so the culmination of all of my experiences really led up to the point where I've, spent a large amount of time in real estate and in development and understanding renewable energy systems. And so all of these things all put together, looking at the market that I'm in, based out of Baltimore, Maryland. And if anybody has any notion of the history of Baltimore as a the epicenter for redlining. And so we have a major problem with inventory. And so this is a solution that I'm bringing to my city, not specifically for my city, because there's a lot of other cities that have similar issues and similar problems. But one of my life mantras is, if not you, then who? It seems to me that I've been perfectly curated for what I do and what I'm offering to not only my community, but for the rest of the world as a whole. And so that is just a brief on my journey. I'm not sure as far as time, what we've got, but I do, just want to encourage everybody to know that all of the things put you in a specific place. Nobody has that same experience that you have. And so all of those things, know that none of it is insignificant. It doesn't matter if it was just that little science fair project, or if it was just something that was your side hustle for a few years. All of these are learnings, and all of these are things that you take with yourself into the future that creates a part of you. There's a unique perspective and skill set that all companies are looking for, and all companies need to be able to have that visibility from a different perspective and from a different angle. And it may just take your specific knowledge base or your specific experience to be able to unlock a very large door, because very small things like a key will unlock very large doors, unlocks things like safes, which are hiding huge numbers of value behind those doors. So don't take any of these things insignificantly or devalue them just because you don't feel like it's a need to the world. The world will tell you, hey, we love that you have this experience, and these are the things that, from your perspective, you can help us to, open up new doors. Devin, am I still good on time?
Oh yeah, you're fine. We have plenty of time.
Okay. So because I do like to kind of, engage with the audience, is it cool if we start with some questions?
Yeah, that's fine. And I'll actually kick it off. So I know you work in the solar energy space, renewable energies, but tying that into real estate. As this is a technology organization, what are some of the key technologies and platforms that's used in the work that you do around renewable energy and solar power communities?
So with the solar space, there are a number of technologies. So not only from in designing a project, but also managing projects. So there are all sorts of softwares that are managing data, data transfer. Most of these systems, as far as solar systems and solar development projects, because there is regular tracking, there are a number of software solutions that they are utilizing, not only to monitor these systems, but to control the systems and to output the data. And so that is just from a purely solar play. But then we are looking at all the ancillary technologies that accommodate solar systems, which battery technology is a very up and coming strong component of renewable energy systems. With battery technologies, there is not only the internal hardware that manages the power consumption, manages output. They use predictive analytics, and now gearing towards more machine learning and artificial intelligence programs to be able to predict energy consumption and load patterns for the incoming power from a solar system, and then where that load is, let's say for a building, how much is being consumed and at what levels they're being consumed. And so what we do at SynergyGrid is we actually have all of our sensors that are feeding data into the battery technology and the microgrid controller that now is the big brain for all of the energy systems. So your batteries, your solar panels, you can add in any other energy generation. So small wind turbines is something that we've been looking at, geothermal and heat pump systems, and all of these that are power generators have to be able to collectively speak to each other in concert. And so that is what a microgrid controller does. And with that microgrid controller complementing essentially all of the power in a home or in a building, there are loads that go on and they turn off, randomly. Some of them are random, some of them are scheduled. And so by being able to manage this efficiently, one of the biggest issues within the power industry, everybody always talks about the issues with renewables, is intermittency. And the reason that's a drawback is because after you've produced this power, it has to generally be used. Storage does help, but over time, those batteries degrade. There is also what is called round trip efficiency. So if you generate power and you put it into a battery, all that power doesn't come back out. So being able to effectively manage those, which is done by most of the software programs and solutions that developers are building, whether it be into battery systems or into microcontroller systems, microgrid controller systems, these are a lot of the softwares that we are currently looking for more solutions, especially because many of these programs are very large and enterprise geared solutions where there are a number of opportunities just on a small scale. What we do with SynergyGrid, because we are doing, community-based, there are solutions that you would be able to program for your own home. So with technology, that's one of the things that I enjoy about the creativity. You can do literally anything that you would like to. So that definitely opens up a whole new world at the very local level, something that anybody can get their hands on and wrap their fingers around, all the way to the largest scale of, massive terawatt scale renewable energy projects.
Thank you for that, Jordan. I'll open the floor up to the audience at this time for any questions or comments for Jordan. Feel free to come off mute and ask your questions if you have any.
I'm sorry.
Is anybody? Oh.
Hi. I have a quick question. So I was looking at the topic. I have a son who's 17 and interested in game design, as well as I have in my circle of influence others that have kids who are in that same age range, high school kids who are looking for what they want to do in terms of the tech space. I am in HR technology myself. And so you mentioned that others tried to steer you in a direction which ultimately ended up working out for you anyway, because you're actually using the skills that you have. One of the concerns that I have about the whole gaming industry is it's incredibly difficult to break into, especially as an African-American individual. And, trying to figure out how to best support that vision that he has while trying to remain realistic about what can you pivot with that. Right, that's more than just creating games, and not looking at, you only have a handful of gaming industries and you have like 60,000 applicants to one opening, so to speak. So how were you able to reconcile where you really wanted to go versus where you were steered towards, and how you made it work for you, while I also try to support that vision that he has while trying to help him be realistic as well, and not dash the dreams and have him be, 10 years from now saying, I wish I could have, would have, and didn't listen to you, Bob, so to speak. I know that's a long way of going. So you get where I'm going, right?
Yeah, and I think just to be clear, because I have my nieces and my nephews, so I kind of struggle with this as well, and through my own experience, really evaluating and really assessing, from your perspective, in your landscape, you have a certain visibility and you have a certain perspective on what you may see as feasible. But that is one of the things that I will say, that for us as mentors, there are certain considerations that we may need to look at and to make, because when you specifically speak about the gaming industry and the gaming space, maybe your son and I, and even you and I, have grown up in very different environments and different times. So where from while I was in school, they actually had nothing related to gaming they, by my senior year in college, did open up a program geared towards developing softwares for gaming. I've been very interested in mobile application and mobile development as the cell phones were developing. One of the benefits of learning technologies at a nascent stage is the fact that you get to be able to grow with and become an expert within that industry. So one of the similar elements, I was still a little bit late to the party. Solar's probably been out since about the 70s. But there are elements like what's called a PPA, a power purchase agreement, which is, back in 2011, 2012 was where there created a financial structure that allowed for people to get solar without having an upfront cost, which is a major benefit. And by being able to get into the industry at that time and grow with the industry, now at this point, getting the opportunities that were presented, leveraging those experiences have now put me into a position of being a thought leader within the renewable energy space. And so kind of managing maybe your expectations and his expectations is nothing but conversation, doing some homework and doing some research and really understanding, what are the specific elements that you're enjoying? Because yes, you want to encourage them to pursue their passions. But I understand where you're coming from, where you don't want to steer them so much into a place where, maybe the job market might not be as favorable. And that is one of, I think anybody's challenge. None of us can predict the future, but we do want to understand maybe the trajectories that the gaming space is going towards, because given it is a difficult industry to break into, there are always specialties and niches that if you are looking to fulfill a specific need, I live in both worlds of the traditional space, the professional environment, but also the entrepreneurship environment. If that is not something that is in the market, that is a current and high demand, where there are jobs in an abundance for what they are hiring for, that does not necessarily take off the table that that's something that won't be lucrative or be an opportunity, because that just may mean that's something that you have a unique perspective on. And if you know that there is an audience or there's a need for the specific skill set that you have, that may be an opportunity to create that product for people and share that with the world. Now, again, you from the mentorship space may say, hey, you want to take your skill set, you have a high aptitude with these core functions. If we are looking for, and generally, as far as parents go, we want to make sure our kids are safe. We want to make sure that they're able to take care of themselves. Maybe that's a plan that you guys come up with, is saying, hey, we want to utilize the skills that we've got now for the work that you know how to do, or start developing that. But for these things that you're passionate about, that's what most people do. They're always the side hustles that grow into businesses or fully fledged businesses. I never tell somebody to just go out and step out on a limb and just, offer it up to the world. You'd like to have some data. You want to have some response. You want to have some feedback as to exactly what the market is dictating. Because if you're building a game, or if you are looking to be a gamer or get into the gaming space, why don't you try it out? There's nothing precluding you from, in your off time or in your outside time, breaking into that space and establishing oneself, while at the same time being able to meet your current needs. But you'll often see that if there is such a passion, if there is such an interest, that person is consistently going to be driving themselves towards that direction, which I found myself. I almost, to a conscious effort or more concerted effort, did not want to make power systems or energy systems my professional life. I don't know if it was maybe some of my negative experiences within engineering, but I didn't want to turn it into a job. But now that I'm full circle back into the energy space, I'm wholly fulfilled. This is something that I did not know that, I'm reading articles and watching videos and having conversations with these people, building these systems, and, always understanding like, this is something fun. Why not make what I do on a regular basis fun? And so then I again started to slowly inch myself towards that. And there are some places where I took a risk. Some of those risks paid off, some of those risks didn't, but I was comfortable with those things because even in failure, that was something that I set myself out on a limb to do because that was what I wanted to do. You know, kids don't necessarily come in the house crying all the time because they hurt themselves because they were having fun, they were playing. But when somebody else forces you to do something or somebody else coerces you to do something that is not necessarily native or true to you, then that's where you kind of run into issues, whereas there's a cognitive dissonance. You know, you didn't feel like that was a decision that you made, it was for someone else. And you will notice that sensation while you're going about it, because I don't feel fulfilled at work, or this is not what I truly, you know, enjoy doing, or this feels laborious. Those are telltale signs that where you are is not where you really should be. And so every day for me, it's always a decision that I've got to make on, hey, am I doing this because I want to? Am I doing this because this feels right? Am I doing this because this is a part of my ultimate goal and a part of my ultimate mission? And when those things become aligned, for me, I felt very much different than when, like I said, I left the engineering space because just something wasn't adding up to me. It just wasn't feeling right. The fact that my, you know, everyday interactions and exposures, yeah, it was a lot of learning, a lot of valuable lessons. And I had to be conscious about that, because if I'm here and I'm not fulfilled, at least there should be some benefit that I'm deriving from myself, you know. But at the same time, what plan do I have? What action plan do I have to be able to get to a place where I am getting that fulfillment and I'm still able to, you know, engage in learning and developing myself and growing every day? So it's very much a fine balance. And I would definitely encourage you to maybe have a little bit more conversation, you know, with him and understand a bit more about the space and about the industry, because one of the things that I have seen over the past few years is an explosion in the gaming world. And there are a lot of avenues that you can really approach it from. You know, not only the actual physical, you know, playing of games, but game design, platform design, hardware and architecture. Then you're talking about outside of the actual video space. Now VR has become, you know, very much on the map. And how all of these things interact with each other, we're going to then start seeing new industries and new products coming from that. And those people who are closest are the ones that have a bead or pulse and understand how that industry begins to shift and how that industry begins to change. And from there, you understand the leverage that you have by being able to intercept those things. I did not know that the Inflation Reduction Act, I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but that is a legislation just passed this year or this past year by President Biden. But it supports all energy efficiency measurements for the built environment. It has been 10 years or 20 years in the making, but now all the stars seem to have aligned in something that I've been, you know, tracking on and privy to, because this is what I see on a regular basis. This is the environment that I'm in, and I enjoy it. I see it every day. I'm looking for these opportunities, and, you know, these are opportunities that I may not have known were going to be there, but knowing that at some point we were going to see an opportunity, and now is the time, you know, for us to be able to capitalize on that, because we have the timing, the tailwinds in the right place in the right time. So many of these things are aligning because of, you know, following my true mission and my true passion.
Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate it. Great feedback.
And I see Joe just dropped a comment in the chat. I don't know, Joe, if you wanted to come off mute and speak to your comment in the chat, or would you like me to read it out for you? All right, I'm going to assume Joe is unable to unmute right now. So Joe says, you are inspiring and an inspiration. Students, particularly in urban schools, really need to hear and talk with you. Where are you located? He locked in late. And he would like to propose that BDPA chapters work with middle and high school students in their area and have you talk with them. Talking about your journey through middle and high school and beyond is excellent. You would inspire students.
I appreciate the comment so much. And because of my experience and because of where I am, I really do. You mean children of the future, especially because of the nature of renewable energy and really looking to save the planet. They really engage and they connect with it very much. So I've done career days, and when you see the engagement and excitement from the things that I'm talking about with these little kids, we do STEM days all the time. They love stuff like robotics and electronics, and just to be able to get them involved at an early stage opens up their minds, and to know they can see themselves in these places, and to have that exposure was very, like I said, very impactful for me. So and I'm sorry, I skipped the whole first part of your question. I'm in Baltimore, and so Baltimore is I think we're about 60% minority, high population of African American. So that is one of my prime functions, is getting as much exposure to things like renewable energy systems, even to trade work, because again, maybe at such high levels, everybody is not built for the same, type of education, where we're talking about college, but we're not including trade work. And I know a lot of technicians, low voltage lighting systems. Those are something that I very much encourage anybody to get into the electrical space, because that is going to explode over the next decade. There are things like, HVAC and plumbing and repair is going to be so needed. We are in a desperate shortage for all of these types of trades people. And there's a mix of trade work and specialized labor. And so because we need all of these different types of nuanced understandings of how to implement these systems, I don't know if we're fully appreciating the need that is going to be over the next years, because I can't find people quick enough to build these projects or have the knowledge bases that are able to come and support. And so we should at all times be encouraging, and supporting, just like the lady before, I believe Chinny, was supporting her son and having those conversations. Any of the youth, anybody that you mentor, if you have that relationship with them, open their mind up, figure out where they may have passions for in their children. Some of these things change, some of these things are fleeting, but at the end of the day, they need that opportunity to touch all of the things. That's why children are all over the place. They want to get themselves engaged in so many things. And when they find that thing that resonates with them, that is something that you should be supporting 100,000%. And I know a lot of times we underestimate the capacity for children, but I see often these little people are geniuses. They learn things so fast. And so, not necessarily looking to cap them in their exploration or their growth and development is something that I think we should all take a lesson in, because as much as we would like to imagine, this takes so much for you to learn. And I've seen different. I have seen very smart children, middle school and even high school, talking about mathematical concepts and calculus and trigonometry and very high, mathematics, but it's because that they had that exposure. They were encouraged. They had those opportunities to engage. And especially in our community, we really need to be supporting that. There's, culturally, growing up and being the smart kid, smart person was chastised, especially when we go to the hood. It's like, that's not a thing, but we need to make it a thing. I think we need to really do as much as we can as adults to help change that culture so that is now encouraged. We're being able to support this from different ways and different methods. The each one teach one method is something I support wholly. And everybody, you don't have to do it on a large scale. You can do it on a one-on-one. Again, it only takes one person to change a life. And if I can do that for one person, I think I've done my job, but I'm definitely going to be shooting for more. So definitely appreciate you, Joe, for looking at that. If you want to come to Baltimore, I'm willing to go, anywhere. I love teaching STEM. I love, sharing the power of renewable energy and just learning and developing oneself. Because again, I'm very biased. I love renewables. I want to make sure that this planet is here for my children. I want them to be born here on this planet, not have to go to Mars or something like that. But, that is something that, I think we should be looking to encourage our youth to go into, because it's a very growing and rapidly growing industry. And I think that there is a lot of opportunity that looks to resonate with the community.
Thanks for that comment, Joe, and best of luck with your dental work that's going on. And Joe had a follow-up question there. How much of what you and your company does revolve around computer science, software development and engineering, and infotech in general?
So we don't specifically have those as prime elements of our company, but as a technology biased person, we implement technologies all the time. What technology does help us to do is leverage, where we have some of our technicians and completing designs, for submitting applications and looking at the different softwares that allow them to do more designs quicker, or to complete software packages, or to do CAD simulations for any of our buildings or energy performance. So there's a number of software systems that we use that may not be specifically core features or core functions, but these are everyday elements in every single business. So as far as, data science specifically, you becoming an expert in any one of these industries, if I were to meet an expert data scientist, then that could be transformative for my business by, including them, or, requesting information on building performance measures, or being able to design testing metrics. So don't necessarily limit it to having to be a broad base. You can be very narrowly focused and provide services. You can be a part of a company and optimize yourself within a company. So we can get creative with exactly how that looks. And it is up to you to figure out what resonates with you the best. Do you prefer to work within the context of a company and to be able to, develop yourself within a company? I have often seen that there are professionals that come into, a company, and they so outsize their role because of what they're offering, their value that they're offering, that whether it be they start their own company outside of that provides services to a company, or that company themselves allows that person to go and run an entirely new division because of how much they've impacted that company. And so, from the perspective of a business owner and development, technology is one of the best things. Again, like I said, I'm very biased when it comes to this, but technology is one of the best areas to be in, because of the versatility and because of the leverage factor in business. Every day, we're always looking to get the maximum value out of whatever we're using, whether it be hiring a new employee, taking on a new software. Is this software going to output more than what was the initial outlay, or what it takes to maintain this over a time period? So, in regards to, developing yourself, again, figure out where your specific niche is, figure out where your specific skill sets are, and then look to build around. What solutions can you provide? What problems are you able to solve? And, understand the value that's there, and understand the value that is created. And that's one of the things that I definitely, make sure in our community, like, we don't underestimate ourselves. We don't discount our value, and, just do some compare and contrast for other companies that are in the space or doing something similar to you. And maybe a little bit of a more difficult challenge in really understanding what that value, the specific number value that you can create, but understand the impact that you can have on a business. Because that is really your job security or your value proposition. And wherever you take that, any company that you would interview with or starting your own business, you know, talking to engaging your customers, this is what people want to understand. If I hire you, if I bring you on, or if we go with you, whatever the solution that you're providing is going to return me more than whatever I am trading or paying you to bring. So that's a great question. Hopefully I answered it, or at least gave you some useful information there.
Thank you for that. Other questions or comments for Jordan?
I guess if you want to raise your hand, if use the hand function, is anybody in the renewable energy space? I would encourage, if everybody is in the tech space, there is a need for software applications and a variety of different software applications. So, you know, let's say for us right now, in just being able to evaluate the feasibility of a site, you know, knowing exactly how to develop the platform or how to develop web applications or mobile applications, data collection, all of these things are elements that you can provide to a space or to an industry. And because there are not a lot of service providers that I can just pick up the phone and say, hey, could you build me an application to get me irradiance for, you know, and collect the national data for a specific climate zone. Or there may just be, if you want to take a niche and you say, hey, I want to target this specific industry and build them software applications or packages or collect data on the information that they see as critical. You know, these are all opportunities that from an entrepreneurship perspective or from an employment perspective are very large and very growing opportunities. And you do want to look to see if you're moving into a growing industry or a dying industry. I will say that the oil and gas, as much as they've been, you know, dominant for the hundreds of years that they've been around, is now on a decline. And that's one of the things that I can feel confident about. Sorry if I'm displacing anybody in the oil and gas space, but you guys can come on over to the renewable energy space. We welcome you over here. We're out here trying to clean up the planet and save it because we can't keep burning fuels. But, you know, again, I very, very big proponent because of all the opportunity that's there and the versatility. There are new generation systems that come out on a regular basis, new technologies that are being developed. You know, and even to that end, the data for material sciences, there are an infinite amount of iterations of different types of materials that can generate or create electricity. And by, you know, providing data analysis, by providing software solutions for constructing different formulas, you know, for different material compositions. Again, we can get very creative with this, and we can take it to a very specific niche, or we can be very broad. You know, it all depends. And if anybody wants to have conversations about what opportunities may be available, just based on their specific, background, you know, these are conversations I'm very open and willing to have, because again, I want to encourage everybody to get into the space so that, you know, we can have this suite of product offerings, because currently we're a very new and nascent industry. Again, you know, I may be biased because solar has been around since 1970, like in 68 or something like that. And so the fact that we're almost 50 years later, you know, and really it's just now getting on people's radars, you know, is mind blowing to me. But again, presents an opportunity to continue to lead and grow and develop the space.
Okay. I'll give one last opportunity for anybody who wants to chime in with anything. Okay, well, if all hearts and minds are clear, then I will just share a few links and things for you for your information. So first and foremost, the recording from this session, as well as all of our other previous Taking Career Talks, is available on our website, bdpa.org/tech in career talks. The videos, the recordings are also on our YouTube channel. So if you subscribe to National BDPA on YouTube, please do that. If you haven't already, but you can find the recordings out there as well. I also want to share Jordan's LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with Jordan following this conversation, there's the link to do that as well. Jordan Taylor on LinkedIn. You can learn more about his SynergyGrid business through there, as well as a little bit about Jordan himself. And then lastly, I would be remiss if I don't encourage you to go to conference.bdpa.org and register for BDPA Con 23. So we'll be in Atlanta, Georgia again this year in August, August 17th through the 19th at the Westin Peachtree Plaza again. So same place, same time as last year. Looking forward to another great conference, and looking forward to seeing you all there again this year. So
yeah,
thank
you
for
gotta check
joining.
it out. It was
Absolutely.
awesome.
Absolutely. I didn't tell him to say that either. So thank you. Thank you, Jordan, for sharing with us today. Great to see you again, as always. Jordan is doing some work with us on the entrepreneurial partnership with NSBE this year, so he will definitely be around. We'll be back in 2 weeks with Johnny Bello-Snay of SNS Africa, SNS Technologies. I'm blanking on the last name, but we'll be talking about commerce as it relates to the African continent as well. So definitely tune back in with us in 2 weeks, and we're looking forward to more great talks to come this year. Thank you all. You all have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay blessed, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.